morning conference. It's a pleasure and a privilege to address this conference as Shadow Home Secretary. But I would like to begin by thanking the members and supporters up and down the country and in this hall who helped to deliver the stunning advance in this year's general election, because you were the architects of our successes, and you were able to do this because you believed in our values, you believed in our manifesto, and above all, you believed in the Labour leadership. Many commentators did not foresee the general election result we had. Some even said we'd be annihilated. But today, the Labour Party is stronger than ever. We are still standing. I am still standing. But there's more to do. We have to get rid of this failing Tory government. We have to win the next general election, whenever it comes, and we will. The theme of this session is protecting our communities, and there is no greater responsibility for government than keeping the nation safe from the menace of terrorism. Tragically, last week, we saw the 5th terror incident this year at Parsons Green Tube Station. This comes after the terrorist atrocities at Westminster, the Manchester Arena, London Bridge, Borough Market and Finsbury Park. Looking back, we must pay tribute to the brave police officers, firefighters, NHS workers and transport police who ran towards danger and rose to the challenge of keeping us safe. Of course, the Tories have no respect for public sector workers, as their unfair public sector pay cap shows. But in its moments of greatest peril, the nation turns to its public sector workers. They should not be played off against each other. They should all be paid properly. And you cannot keep the nation secure on the cheap. Yet only on Friday, the chair of the National Police Chiefs Council warned that counter-terror funding to police forces will be cut by 7.2% over the next 3 years. And Home Office documents reveal that the budget for the Office for Security and Counter-Terrorism will fall by more than £50 million over the next 2 years. We oppose these cuts, and Labour will reverse them in government. And as part of combating terrorism effectively, Labour is committed to a thorough review of the prevent strand of counter-terrorism policy. Increasingly, there's a concern that prevent is a tainted brand and not fit for purpose. Trampling on our civil liberties will do the terrorists' work for them because what makes us free is what makes us safe, and what makes us safe is what will make us free. Another key aspect of protecting communities is policing. I have represented an inner-city community for over 30 years. I know it's the poor, women and minorities who suffer most from crime. I have always taken fighting crime seriously, and I will continue to do so as Labour Home Secretary. And the reality of the Tory record on law and order is a long way from their rhetoric. Since 2010, Theresa May has been Home Secretary and now Prime Minister. But on her watch, the numbers of police officers has dropped by 20,000. 2.3 billion has been cut from police budgets. The truth is that austerity undermines policing and community safety in just the same way that it undermines our health service. We see the consequences of this around us with rising levels of homicide, knife and gun crime, and the police themselves are suffering from spiralling levels of overwork and stress. Labour in government will work to make communities safe, and we will recruit 10,000 new police officers working in the community. Another key aspect of protecting communities is keeping them safe from fire. Once again, this is something where this Tory government has let the people of this country down, and the extent of their failure is symbolised by the Grenfell fire. Who can forget those images of the Grenfell Tower ablaze? And this did not happen in a slum, in an impoverished country far away. It happened here in Britain, in one of the wealthiest areas of the country, in one of the richest countries of the world. And Tory-controlled Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea treated the residents of Grenfell like second-class citizens. And when the disaster struck, the Royal Borough's response was shameful. Even now, out of all the families made homeless, only a handful have been offered permanent homes. And this in a borough with over 2,000 empty properties. Am I the only person wondering why the commissioners aren't coming in and taking over the failing Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea? But Tory failure in relation to Grenfell goes further than the council. Events at Grenfell are also a direct consequence of deregulation of fire standards and inspection, privatisation and outsourcing. We demand justice for the Grenfell survivors. They will not be forgotten. We demand an immigration amnesty for all former Grenfell residents so they all feel able to come forward. Labour in government will recruit 3,000 additional firefighters, and we fully support the campaigning of the Fire Brigades Union against the cuts. We all saw the photographs of the brave, smoke-blackened firefighters insisting on going back into the fire to save lives. We relied on our fire brigade at Grenfell, and the fire brigade must be the lead agency for assessing risk, fire inspections and proper sign-off of all major works and refurbishments. No more outsourcing to the private sector. But I cannot leave this subject without paying tribute to my colleague, Emma Dentcote, the MP for Kensington. As a new MP, she found herself having to deal with a national tragedy on the scale of Grenfell. She has offered love and leadership to her community in full measure, and conference should applaud her. Emma has shown that Labour can make a difference everywhere and that Labour can win anywhere. We finally had an inquiry into the Hillsborough tragedy thanks to the tireless campaigning of the people of Liverpool with the support of my colleagues Andy Burnham and Steve Rotherham. But as Labour Home Secretary, I promise a full inquiry into Orgreave and an inquiry into the trials of the Shrewsbury 24 and an inquiry into what happened to the 37 Camel Laird workers. They all deserve justice. Another vital Home Affairs issue is immigration. Tory opportunism on immigration is a disgrace. They continue to talk about bogus immigration targets, which they have not met and will never meet. The Tories have weaponised immigration. They have been prepared to pander to anti-immigration sentiment, whatever the cost to the economy and communities. Many of you will have seen the Panorama programme, which revealed the brutal regime at Brook House Detention Centre. Labour will put an end to indefinite immigration detention. There are real labour market issues in relation to immigration, but the Labour Party, under the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn, will never scapegoat immigrants for these issues. Labour in government will work across departments to counter the effects of deregulation, liberalisation and the weakening of trade union rights and freedoms. Far from immigrants being a drain on the public sector, the truth is that without immigrants and the children of immigrants, we would not have the National Health Service we have today. And of course, EU citizens in this country also play a vital role in the economy. The willingness of Theresa May to use them as bargaining chips in her negotiations is shameful. We will guarantee the rights of EU nationals living in this country. It is vital for our economy and it is the right thing to do. I have visited refugee camps in Calais, in Greece, in Lebanon, and seen the pitiful conditions in which many refugees live. And even in Britain, the current arrangements for housing refugees are not fit for purpose. They're not fair to the refugees, and they're not fair to our communities. We will review these arrangements. Labour, under the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn, will fulfil its responsibilities to refugees, in particular child refugees. Parliament passed the Dubs Amendment and we will implement it fully. The watchword for our approach to immigration and government will be fairness and the reasonable management of migration. But, as the child of migrants, Conference must believe me when I say that under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, immigration policy will always be shaped by enduring Labour values. And in closing, I want to thank my new Home Affairs team, Eleanor Smith, my PPS, Nick Thomas-Simmons, Shadow Security Minister, Chris Williamson, Shadow Fire Minister, Afzal Khan, Shadow Immigration Minister, and Louise Haigh, Shadow Police and Crime Minister. This is my top team. And finally, Conference, let me say this. My mother came to this country in the 1950s as a pupil nurse. She could never have believed that her daughter would stand before you as Shadow Home Secretary. And you know, what makes the Labour Party special? What makes the Labour Party one of the leading progressive parties in Europe is not just that we will manage this country and run this country better than the Conservative Party, because politics is not just about management. What makes the Labour Party special is that we have always been the party which works to help people fulfill their aspirations and dreams for themselves and their children. It is that message of hope that helped us achieve the amazing results we achieved in the last general election. And it is that message of hope which will help us win the coming general election and put Jeremy Corbyn into number 10.